Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to be making a fun little graduation shadow box, and we're going to be using products from Fawn today. So let's go ahead and get started. So to get started, we're going to start off with this set of dies. We're going to grab this one here. We'll be die cutting that 2 times. And this is going to create a little shadow box. And this is from the Shadow Box die set from Fawn. And for paper, I'm using that Fawn Schoolyard paper in that gold color. So we'll be die cutting this 2 times. I'm running it through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. And then we want to cut a frame out of one of those panels. We're going to be using lots of other little items from this set as well. And this is the Shadow Box Card Theater add-on set. So we're taping down this frame with a little bit of purple tape and just on one of these panels. So I'm going to go ahead and run that through the die cutting machine, and that'll cut the opening we need for our little shadow box. So now I've got these 2 panels. Now I want to do the drapes or the curtains for our theater. So I'm going to grab these 3 dies here and some pattern paper. This is the Perfectly Plaid Chill paper pack. This is a 6x6 paper pack. And we're going to use that dark sapphire blue and that plaid as well. And you can see all the really pretty colors you get in here. So I'm cutting out the curtains from that pretty plaid paper. And then I'll be doing the tie backs from that darker plaid, that blue sapphire plaid. And then I'll go ahead and cut this valance from that darker blue plaid as well. And I'm running all of these through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. So now we'll be die cutting 2 shadow box elements. We're going to need this knock on wood petite paper pack with that kind of teal color. We're going to die cut the stage out of that, and that'll be from that die underneath there. And that is from that set that I showed you before, the Shadow Box card die set. And then we'll die cut this straight edge one from the Scallop Box card pop-up die set. And that'll be from that yellow paper, and that's again from the Chill paper pack. So we'll go ahead and die cut this. And again, this will be the seats for the audience members. So now we've got both of these die cut, one with the arch on it and one without. Now we'll take that little owl and that graduation cap from this set, and this is the So Owlsome set. And for paper, I'm using the Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth Premium White cardstock and the Spectrum Noir Finesse Alcohol Proof Die ink pad in the black. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp the little owl and that graduation cap as well. And then from this set here, we're going to grab the diploma. And this is the Smart Cookie stamp and die set. So I'll go ahead and get that stamped. And then we can go ahead and color these in. We're using the ice gray shades and the blends in order to do our coloring. I'm going to start with the blends. Here I'm just adding a little bit of that lightest gray. I'm not even going to do any blending there. But on this graduation cap, I'll use that blend, the lightest color, then I'll go to the middle of the pen to do the darkest color, or the mid-tone, and then I'll flip the pen around for that darkest color. And these are the Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend markers. Now I did think it needed a little bit more of a shade, so I'm coming in with that lightest color from the shades, and then I'll go back and blend these one more time. Now for the owl, I'm going to use the pale pink blend and just add a little bit of that. I'll be adding more a little bit later on. And then with the gold brown blends and shades, I'm going to start with my lightest color, and this is the blends. Then again, go to that mid-tone, And then flip that pen around and grab that darker color. And then I'll go back to that lighter one and blend these out. I'll add a little bit more here of the pink to the cheeks. And now with the earth brown blend and shades, again, I'll start with the lighter blends, the lightest color. Then the mid-tone. And then again, flipping that marker around and grabbing that darkest color. And then I'll go back to the medium and then the light just to blend that out. Now I've got the burnt orange blend to do the beak and his little feet. And again, I'll just be adding those 3 shades and blending that out as well. And then I'll do those same colors on the little ribbon on the graduation diploma. So let's go ahead and grab the coordinating dies and tape these down with a little bit of purple tape, and then I'll be running these through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. Now to do the sentiment, I'm going to grab this banner here, that smallest one, and that's from the Simple Wavy Banners dies. And for the sentiment, I'll be grabbing this congratulations, but we're going to use just the word congrats. So this is the Simply Sentiments stamp set. I'm taping this down to my mini MISTI with a little bit of tape from my Tombow tape runner. And then I'm going to just grab the word congrat, and then we'll add the S here in a second. So I want to kind of have it go in that wavy pattern, the way that banner is. So I'm just going to fuss around with this for a second or two here, just to position this. I didn't have to move it very much at all, just a little tiny bit there. Once I have that position the way I like it, I'm going to just mask off the rest of the word. So again, we're just grabbing the congrat part. And this is the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. You do want to remember to remove your Post-it note before you do your stamping. And then we'll just clean this off really well. I'm using my Stays On cleaner. This is like a spray. I really like this. I've been using this a lot more lately. You just spritz a little bit on and then wipe away any excess ink. And you do want to make sure this is really dry before you go back to your paper here. So now I just want to take that S from the end of congratulations. And so I will mask off the rest of that word. I just need the S. So again, I'm using my Post-it. I'll ink up just the S this time, remove my Post-it note, and then I can go ahead and stamp that. So now that that's all set, I want to add some little people in the audience. So I'm using the Tiny Friends dies. There is a coordinating stamp set, but we're not going to be using that today. I'm going to die cut about 5 of these little friends. And I'm using some black 100-pound cardstock. And they'll be sitting in the audience, so we'll really just see the backs of these little audience members. So I'm going to, again, run that through the Sizzix Sidekick machine. And now I've got my 5 little audience members. So I'll set those aside, and I'm using the Fossilized Amber Distress Oxide ink from Tim Holtz, and I'm just going to run a little bit of that shadow right along the top edge of this yellow panel that we die cut earlier. And then while I have that ink out, I'm going to add a little bit of that ink all the way around this little banner. just to finish that off. Now I'll go ahead and grab the Chip Sapphire Distress Oxide ink, and I'm adding a little shadow to the drapes here. And there is a little opening there in the drape, so you can kind of tuck a little bit of color right in there just by pulling it apart a little bit and then just tucking a little bit of ink in there. I'll do the same thing for that panel. And then here on the top of this arched panel, I'm just going to add a little shadow right across the top there. And then for the valance, I'm going to just add a little shadow right along the bottom edge. Now I can go ahead and assemble this portion. I'm going to add the little tie backs to my curtains. I'm using the Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. And I'll just glue those two little tie backs in place. And these will sit behind this frame. So first I'm going to add that valance. You could add the curtains first and then add the valance after, so it would be behind the curtains, but I kind of wanted it in front. So I'm adding that valance, and then I'm going to add the two curtain panels on either side. Just lining that up with that score line. I'll do the same thing for the other side here. Now I can fold these panels. So I'm just folding them right along the two score lines that are here. And I'll do the same thing for this other panel as well. Just using my bone folder to press those out. And that's how this will come together here. That will create our little shadow box. So I'm going to glue this tab in place. So I'm gluing these two together using that little tab, just lining that up right along that score line. And now I can put the little stage inside the shadow box. So I'm grabbing this aqua panel and I'm going to fold that on the two score lines as well, and that'll create two little tabs, and that's how we'll attach this on the inside of the shadow box. So you want to make sure you line this up down towards the bottom of the shadow box, and I'm just checking about where I want to place that, so maybe not quite halfway into the shadow box, just a little less than halfway. And again, I'm lining it up towards the bottom here, just leaving a little tiny bit of a border there. And then I'll lay this flat. So you want to open the card up, lay this nice and flat, and put glue on that other tab. Then you're just going to fold this opposite side in on itself. And then press that down. And now I can put some glue on this other tab and fold this card shut. And again, I'm lining it up right along that score line. Once you do that, that's going to pick up that little stage inside the shadow box. And so now everything is attached. And this will lie flat when it's going through the mail. So now I've got the little panel here that's going to be the seats for my audience. So I'm cutting away the two tabs because we're not placing it inside the shadow box. We're just going to place it on the front of our shadow box. So we don't need those two little tabs. And this is a little bit too wide, so I'm going to cut this down to about 1/2 inch. So you can see I cut away the two tabs and about half of it. Now I went ahead and glued my little audience members right along the back of that plaid panel. And so just their little heads are going to be sticking up over the backs of the seats. Now I thought it was a little too thin, so I'm adding a couple of strips of black cardstock behind that yellow plaid panel. That's just going to give this a little bit more substance. And I didn't want to use a foam tape because I can't have it be too thick back here. Otherwise it will stick to the inside of my shadow box when the shadow box is closed. So I'm using the cardstock to thicken up this layer, and you can see that there. Now I can go ahead and add my foam tape. Again, just being careful that it's only along the opening of that frame, right along the frame itself. Because if it sticks up over the top there, it will stick the card together when it's closed. So you want to make sure that your foam tape is only as wide as that little frame. Now for the little ends of the people, just to make sure it stayed nice and stable, I double stacked some foam tape and put one piece behind each of the heads on either end here. And that'll just hold this in place a little bit better. Again, I want to make sure that tape is not in the opening in any way. So by putting it on either end, on either of the two heads on either end, I make sure that it's not going to get stuck anywhere that we don't want it to be. So now I'm grabbing another little piece of the foam tape, again making sure it's only on that frame section there. And I'll pop up this congrats. And I just want to center that here at the top. So next we'll grab that little owl. We'll attach the graduation cap. And I'm also going to attach the little diploma to his hand as well. Or to his wing, I guess. So we'll go ahead and attach that. Now I thought maybe it wasn't quite thick enough for the inside of my shadow box. So I'm just going to grab that owl die that we used before to cut out the little owl, and I'm using some black 100-pound cardstock, and I'm just going to cut that one more time, and I'll attach that right behind this owl. Again, just to make him a little thicker and have a little bit more substance to him. So I'm just lining that up with the back of that owl and gluing those two together. Now I can add a little bit of glue down towards the bottom. Again, you don't want to come up too high because you don't want glue up over the top of it. So you're just going to glue down this bottom section here. And then I'll attach that to the stage. And I'm just centering that. Now I did want to add a little bit more of a shadow right around the edges here, just to finish off that white edge that we cut away. I did decide to add some stars, so I'm going back to that blue plaid paper that we used before, and I'll grab a star, this star here from the mini pop-up box set. I'll grab that one from the Foursquare backdrop landscape set, and that one from the Foursquare backdrop portrait set. So just kind of look through your dies and stamps and see what you have. I just grabbed these three. They were 3 different sizes, and they all had that cute little stitch border all the way around. I did die cut them out of the plaid cardstock and then some white 100-pound cardstock. I glued those together, again, just to give these a little substance. And then I'm using that sapphire, chip sapphire ink to add a little bit of a shadow around the edges of those, just to take away that white edge. Now I can go ahead and attach all my little stars to my shadow box. And I did decide to add some inside the shadow box as well. So I just kind of played around here to determine where I wanted to put these little stars. So again, I'll put a few inside here. I'm going to put one up over the top in the back as well, just to add a little more dimension back there. And then I'll add a couple of stars to the side, the two sides. So I did that for both sides. Now I'll take my Uniball Signo white gel pen and I'll add some little highlights to all my little audience members here. And then to all of my little stars. And that's really going to make these pop out a little bit. And then I'll add a little bit of a highlight on these curtains as well. So let's take a closer look at this little shadow box. And this will fit in a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch envelope when it lays flat. You do want to be careful when you're popping things up over the top like I've done here, that it doesn't get too tall, but this one will fit in just fine. And you've got plenty of room on the back here for your sentiment as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. As always, thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.